Hey everyone, what is up? It's your girl Jasminder, aka Passion Political, and welcome to today's video. Happy World Menstrual Hygiene Day. Today's video is on periods. All right, so specifically today we are talking about a less sort of dancey and happy topic. Today on World Menstrual Hygiene Day, I actually want to draw our attention to period poverty. So oftentimes when people think about period poverty, they're thinking, okay, like a lack of access to menstrual hygiene products. So things like tampons, pads, things like that. But the reality is that it's not just a lack of access to menstrual hygiene tools, it's also a lack of education. And we're talking about menstrual hygiene tools, that includes menstrual hygiene products. It also includes things like waste management facilities, hand washing facilities, things of that nature. Estimates suggest that people with uteruses spend upwards of 6 years of their life menstruating. 6 years. And studies have also found that a lot of people feel held back from doing their regular activities when they're on their period. And about 70% of people have said that they've missed school or they've missed work because of their period. And oftentimes periods are associated with shame and stigma. I remember growing up, it was one of my biggest nightmares to leak in class or something like that, or have my pad outline showing, or, you know, have a spot of blood like pop up on my pants or something like that. That was like one of my biggest nightmares, like things that would like haunt me in my dreams. And it's such a normal biological process that is surrounded by so much shame and stigma. So I think it's really, really important to understand that we need to sort of break the stigma and the lack of education around periods. It just doesn't make sense for that to be the case. In many countries, 2/3 of women don't feel comfortable going to school because they're on their period, and many young people stop going to school altogether because they've gotten their period and they sort of don't have the proper education and understanding around what exactly this means for their health and how exactly to sort of take care and have proper menstrual hygiene so they can comfortably go to school and feel good. When women drop out of school because they're on their periods, that causes so many sort of potential psychological harms, potential social and political harms. So when we really think about it, you know, that lack of education may prevent somebody from sort of attaining that higher, job or something like that in society, really contributing to that glass ceiling. And what that ends up resulting in, a lack of financial resources for themselves or to be able to get out of a potentially dangerous situation. So it doesn't only have an impact on that individual's development in terms of their education, but also their life chances and what their life ends up looking like many, many years down the road. In the global north, two of the groups that face a lot of barriers when it comes to accessing menstrual hygiene products are students as well as homeless women. In order to combat the stigma around periods, we really need good education around what exactly periods are and what to do when you get your period and how to sort of take care of yourself, products that one can use that are sanitary and what exactly that means. About 72% of the world does not have access to proper hand washing facilities. A lot of the world does not have access to proper waste management facilities. So when we really sort of think about that and we reflect on that, it's not just about getting those materials, it's also about ensuring that we sort of have the larger systemic structures that allow us to safely use menstrual hygiene products and dispose of them in the proper way as well. In Canada, it's estimated that a woman spends approximately $6,000 in her lifetime. $6,000 in her lifetime on menstrual hygiene products, pads, tampons, liners, things of that nature. Those numbers can be double for individuals that are living in rural communities. The high cost of these products can honestly make it out of reach for homeless women, for low-income women, as well as for marginalized women. There's a lot of psychosocial impacts of a lack of understanding around menstrual hygiene, but really there's also many negative potential health effects. So in order to talk about some of the negative potential health effects, we are going to be talking to Dr. Cuterus, aka Dr. Tanaya Narendra. She's going to give us her take on what exactly some of the health issues are when it comes to a lack of access to resources for individuals that are on their periods. Thank you so much for being here today, Dr. Tanaya. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So as a reproductive health expert, what are some of the health implications that you've seen of people having period poverty or some of the psychosocial sort of issues that you're seeing coming out of this?
My main area of work is fertility and sexual and reproductive health. So because of this, I get to see a lot of women with period problems. Purely from a health perspective, there's like a bunch of problems that happen just with having periods. And then if you add the problem of not having access to a lot of resources, it just makes it worse. For example, like one of the things that I see very commonly in not just underdeveloped countries, but also developed countries is things like anemia. Now, if somebody is already anemic, their body's defense mechanisms are lowered.
Yeah.
And then they don't use the right kind of products. So, their body finds it harder to fight off infections. And this is the first big problem we see with period poverty. The inability to fight off infections.
Yeah.
And eventually, these infections can lead to other major problems like infertility, and even shockingly, 2/3 of cervical cancer cases in India supposedly stem from infections due to period poverty.
Wow.
Which is just such a shocking statistic.
Yeah, no, those are staggering statistics. Wow.
And on top of all of this, there's of course the psychosocial impact of all of this. Like women have so much anxiety, young girls have so much anxiety, they don't go to school because they're bullied so often. I had this particular patient, she was a young girl, and she was planning on dropping out of school. Not because she didn't have pads, she had pads, but she was using reusable cloth pads because it was more affordable for her. The problem was that once you do use one of these pads, you have to wash it and dry it in the sun. And she was afraid if she has to change it, the boys in school will see it and they will make fun of her.
Yeah.
So she just stopped going to school.
Wow.
Which is just, the impact of this later on in her life is just so sad. I mean, of course, we counseled her, we tried to give her resources, but the answer is not just providing, pads. It's also talking about these things.
Thank you so much again for being here today.
Thank you for having me once again.
The solution to this is honestly both complex and it's simple. When it comes to it being simple, that's what I'll touch on first. We need to ensure that around the world, on a global scale, people have access to safe waste management systems, people have access to menstrual hygiene products, people have access to hand washing, and people have access to education around periods. There's been some arguments that menstrual hygiene products should be covered by insurance, and there's been other arguments that menstrual hygiene products should just be provided for free. When you really think about it, you can't help that you menstruate. When you go into a bathroom, there's free toilet paper, right? Because you need the toilet paper. It's sort of just, you don't pay for the toilet paper, right? So why is it that we're paying for menstrual hygiene products when it's not something that we can help, right? It just think about, hold on. Think about it. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. Now those 4 things are a little bit on the easier side. It gets a little bit more complicated and honestly a lot more murky. It's not just about ensuring that every single person around the world has the same access to the menstrual hygiene products that are sort of in distribution today. Tampons, pads, and panty liners create over 200,000 tons of waste per year around the globe. Now that is a lot of garbage, that is a lot of plastic, because about 90% of these products are made from plastic. So we not only have to move towards ensuring that every single individual has access to menstrual hygiene products, but also that those products are environmentally sustainable. We not only have to move and sort of create for everybody what the current normal is, but we also need to move forward and we need to change what our normal is. There's really a myriad of social reasons, of cultural reasons as to why menstrual hygiene is not where it should be today in the year of 2020. We need to begin a broader discussion around women's health and menstruation, because only together can we actually end period poverty.
You see stereophonic sound for the home.